Chestnaught farming up towards the back-to-back throwing one before the next avalanche. Is the opponent willing to commit their final shield? No, they're not. Down goes Mamoswine. In comes Primarina. Frenzy Plant is debuffed. How much is this going to do? And oof, that does a lot of damage. So welcome back to the channel. Today we have an absolutely insane showcase from my good friend Karim. He's back at it once again. He is flexing a ridiculous team. We have got a Shadow, Hundo, level 51, double legacy Charizard. That was a mouthful, but my god, that is some flex pick. Why just have one incredible flex when you can have two? It's team partner today. For the duration of the video is going to be a shiny 100 IV. Legacy, Community Day Frenzy Plant, Chestnaught, aka a Shundo. So without any further ado, let's get into the battles. And in game one, we see an absolute dreadful lead. Florges into Chestnaught due to our sub fighting typing. We are going to take super effective. From Fairy, we pivot out into Charizard. Charizard's supposed to resist all the moves, but not the bulkiest. That did a lot of damage. The opponent pivots out into the big thick boy, and Charizard lands the Blast Burn. Karim then commits to the second Blast Burn, forcing Snorlax to dump energy. I really like this play as it didn't allow Snorlax the complete lick down. He can now come in with this turtle and look to get ahead on energy. He over farms just before the next body slam, lands the superpower. Superpower takes care of Snorlax and he's pivoting out into his togikiss. Florges briefly returns and the opponent pivots out into Conkeldurr, and that, my friend, is not the switch you are looking for. Conkeldurr being sacrificed to the Pokegod's charm, eating this fighter alive. We commit one shield on the Stone Edge. Togekiss gets the full charm, farmed out, back out. Comes Florges, we fire off the ancient power. The opponent didn't shield, but likewise Togekiss, pretty thick. We don't have to shield the Moonblast. Moonblast gets us fairly low. However, the opponent isn't going to be able to Fairy Wind down. Before the next ancient power, the opponent is now forced to commit their final shield. We pivot out into Chestnaught. Karim still with one shield remaining, instantly clicks the no shield. The opponent fires off the disarming voice. That doesn't KO. Karim now does shield up the next disarming voice, and one by whips all she wrote. GG's and thanks for playing. Moving on to the next battle, we see Chestnaught into Mamoswine. Pretty neutral matchup. Ice does hit us for super effective. Likewise, due to Mamoswine's ground typing, grass is hitting for super effective. I believe Chestnaught is going to win the two shields as after Karim fires off this Frenzy Plant. We're going to be 5-5 to the back-to-back superpowers, whereas Mamoswine will be 6-5 to the next two avalanches. So we are going to outpace by one singular quick move. We fire off the superpower. The opponent commits the final shield. Karim looks like he is going for the two shield. We just have to be mindful of the catch. He farms up to the superpower, and the opponent does make the catch, banking that energy on Mamoswine for the end game. The opponent caught on Gyarados, but Gyarados is about to have a very sad time as they're on Dragon Breath, and Karim can come in with Togekiss and completely charm farm this all the way down. The opponent actually on Hydro Pump. Holy crap, I wasn't expecting the pump. So we actually simultaneously KO, and this game is now going to be really interesting. Karim sends out his Shadow Charizard with no shields, but luckily enough it's Metagross. In the back, he farms up to 8, fires off the Blast Burn. We lose CMP. Meteor Mash is resisted, but my god, even at level 51 and a Hundo, Shadow Charizard didn't tank that all that well. We're now on minimal HP. Karim makes an absolute savage stack swap. Catching the move on Chestnaught, the opponent goes for the undercharge. We've got the Dragon Claw locked and loaded and on 1 HP, and the Dream Charizard's going to clean up this battle. Very well played. As always, Karim displaying incredibly high gameplay IQ, pulling off a victory when I thought, quite frankly, we were fucked. Moving on to the next one. It's like deja vu. Chestnaught into Mamoswine. You will notice he has now switched out Togekiss for channel favourite, the big thick boy Snorlax. Again, Karim shields up the avalanche and he's going to return fire with the Frenzy Plant, and Mamoswine respects it with a shield. Let's see if Karim is willing to play out the two shield. That is the play that Karim has gone for. He had the superpower. He is going to choose to shield up and look to overfarm. We are now at the back-to-back. Surely the opponent is now going to let this go, knowing they're unable to win lead. The opponent does let it go. They now come in with a Primarina. Primarina probably thinking this is debuff, but holy smokes, Primarina still didn't tank that all that well. Chestnaught absolutely running through the opponent's team. We send out Charizard looking to farm down the Primarina. The opponent pivots out into Excadrill and stay in school, kids. Learn to count as 5 mud shots to the rock side, and Karim switches out to catch the move on his Snorlax, and that rock side really didn't tickle the big thick boy. The opponent now fires off the drill run and Snorlax still holds strong. The opponent still has 1 shield remaining, but Karim going straight for the superpower. Superpower does land. Holy smokes, Excadrill hangs on with 1 HP. And a dream, their force to dump energy drill run does take care of Snorlax wee wing attack farm down. The Excadrill Primarina in the back. This game is absolutely over. He fires off the double resisted Dragon Claw and the opponent concedes the match. GG's and thanks for playing. Moving on to the next one, we see Chestnaught into Florges. Pretty dreadful Karim. Looking to stay in originally. I wonder if he's going to look to catch a move on Charizard. That is exactly the play that he goes for, but the opponent far too smart for that. They hold on to their energy. Pivot out into Gyarados. I believe this Gyarados is actually on Dragon Tail. I like that. I also run Dragon Tail. The opponent didn't shield up the Dragon Claw. Karim shields up the Aqua Tail, and he's now looking to overfarm. He fires 4 wing attacks and the Blast Burn for optimal move time, and the opponent commits a shield, not wanting to get taken out, but Charizard with residual energy fires off 1 more wing attack, and the Dragon Claw Gyarados does survive. Can we knock him out with the wing attacks? No, we cannot. Gyarados' superior stat product coming in clutch. We come in with Chestnaught Vine Whip farm down. He pivots out into Snorlax. Knowing Florges exited with energy, and the opponent full sends the Moonblast. It's Mamoswine in the back. I wonder if we survive an avalanche. I've never seen level 50 Snorlax whatsoever. But if this was my level 40 Snorlax, we would get taken out. Snorlax does survive. Holy smokes, level 50 regular Snorlax is fit. Karim farms up towards the back-to-back superpowers. The opponent lets the first one go. We're already at the next body slam. Is the opponent willing to give up their final shield? Yes, they are. I think that's a huge misplay from the opponent. They should have let Mamoswine go down, come in with Florges, look to ferry down our Snorlax to get some energy together to take out this Chestnaught. They did not. So we now have back-to-back Frenzy Plants almost ready to go. The Florges is energy dry and Chestnaught is about to be a fairy counter confirmed. GG's and thanks for playing. A good example there where you want to actually lose switch or let your Pokemon go down, as that would have been a win con potentially for the opponent. Moving on to the next battle, we see Chestnaught into Magnezone. Probably a pretty good matchup unless the opponent's on Flash Cannon. The opponent sends the Mirror Shot, so they've probably got Mirror Shot and Wild Charge. The opponent now pivots out into Snorlax, and Snorlax isn't going to appreciate a loaded Chestnaught. We fire off the Superpower. Superpower does almost 50% of the HP. We now pivot out into Charizard. Charizard tanks the Body Slam pretty well, actually. I wasn't expecting it to do more damage. It did not. We now farm up to the Blast Burn, and Karim is going to fire off the Dragon Claw. Dragon Claw goes unshielded. Looking at the health, we can tank this Body Slam. It will get us low, but this is actually absolutely fantastic for us, as Magnezone's going to get hardly any farm. The opponent waiting out their timer. They do send back out the Magnezone. We aren't going to make the Blast Burn, so Karim is settling for some chip damage, and the opponent's counting was on point as they didn't fear of any potential Blast Burn. We now send back out Chestnaught. We know they haven't got Flash Cannon. The opponent sends off 1 more Mirror Shot. Karim now almost at the back-to-back superpowers. Is the opponent willing to give up a shield? Yes, they are. Karim now pauses a turn, waits for the spark to come through and fires off the next superpower. Again, very high gameplay IQ, knowing that the opponent was unable to catch. Magnezone still staying in, and they fire off on CMP. Karim shields up the Mirror Shot. This is a double debuffed superpower, but I highly doubt Magnezone in its shadow form is going to be able to tank it. It is not. We pivot out into Snorlax, and the Mamoswine in the back. Unshielded is going to have a pretty rough day. The opponent agrees with my assessment of the situation, and they concede the match. Moving on to the next one, we see another Shadow Magnezone in the lead. This one is actually repping a best body badge as well. You love to see it. The opponent fires off the Mirror Shot. Karim shows no respect. He's now going to go straight for the superpower. Does the opponent respect the damage? Yes, they do. The opponent now pivots out into Gyarados, looking to catch a charge move. They don't catch. Karim just chooses to farm up a boatload of energy and send out the big thick boy. Snorlax into Gyarados, pretty common matchup at level 40. It's pretty even. I imagine at level 50 it's also pretty even. However, Karim does have shield advantage. so he should be able to keep his Charizard away from that Magnezone. Just as I say that, he does commit a shield on his Lax, wanting to maintain that positive alignment because Charizard absolutely wants no part of that Magnezone. We fire off the Body Slam. Can we farm down? We cannot, so Karim now forced to actually go down 2 shields in this matchup. However, we do have a superpower bank if Magnezone does return, and it does, and Karim is not baiting. He sends the superpower, the opponent lets it go. They then come in to a Machamp looking to snipe the Snorlax, but Karim super quick on his response to Charizard. He fires off the Dragon Claw. Machamp shields it up. They are going to have to Rock Slide to take us out. The opponent does send the Rock Slide, however, they didn't overfarm all that much. They didn't want to get hit with another Dragon Claw. We come back in to the Chestnaught. Frenzy Plant takes care of the Shadow Machamp. Back out comes Magnezone. They full send the Wild Charge, but Chestnaught survives as it is resisted. We fire off the superpower, and that is going to be a good game. GG's, and thanks for playing. Chestnaught out here, not just looking like a really cool flex, actually pretty good in this meta. Speaking of pretty good, we see something that Chestnaught absolutely walls. If you ever see Chestnaught into Stunfisk in the Great League, it's fantastic for the big turtle. Excadrill in the Master League is also fantastic as they run Rock Slide and Drill Run, and Chestnaught absolutely walls it. The opponent pivoted out into the Gyarados, so Karim sends out his Snorlax. Snorlax being used as the damage sponge. The opponent fires off the Crunch. Snorlax, unable to lick down, is going to fire off the Body Slam. Body Slam takes care of Gyarados. Back out comes Excadrill, and we're not baiting. We're going straight for the superpower. The opponent commits a shield. I'm not really sure on that play, as I have no idea what the opponent is going to attempt to do. When Excadrill gets realigned with a Chestnaught in the endgame, the opponent now makes a great catch, catching a superpower on Dragonite, but that still isn't going to save the opponent. Charizard, with shield advantage, fires off the first Dragon Claw. The Shadow Dragonite does shield it up. Karim now going to commit his first shield, looking to get rid of this Dragonite. We outpace to the next Dragon Claw, but his Dragon Claw with non-stab going to be enough to knock out? No, it's not. But we do get the wing attack farm down. Back out comes Excadrill. Excadrill not wanting to get hit with a Blast Burn, fires off the Rock Side. We come back in to our Chestnaught, and this is where you're going to see why the mole shouldn't have shielded. Drill Run does absolutely nothing. The opponent finally realises the game's over and concede the match. GG's, and thanks for playing. Moving on to the next one, we see Chestnaught out here picking up another great lead against another Steel Mole. And would you look at that, his partner in crime, Gyarados, comes out. We're looking to soften it up with the Frenzy Plant. Gyarados might be part flying, but Frenzy Plant hits like an absolute truck. We now pivot out into the big thick boy, and Crunch doesn't do anywhere near as much damage. Karim sitting in a really comfortable spot, even if this is another Crunch. With no debuff, Snorlax is going to tank it. No problem, Karim overfarms, fires off the Body Slam. The opponent, unlikely to shield as their Gyarados is solo. The opponent does let it go. If they do return with the Mole, I'll be interested to see if this trainer does also commit a shield. We know Superpower only does around 55-60% from a regular Snorlax, and this opponent makes the correct play of letting it go. They are going to fire some energy. It looks like they're saving 2 shields for whatever is in the back. In comes Chestnaught, and it's Avalugg. This is pretty neutral for Charizard. Ice does hit for neutral. Fire would be super effective, however we have to go all the way up to a Blast Burn to get off that fire type damage. Karim goes for the Dragon Claw bait. The opponent has no choice really but to shield. The opponent lets it go, and this time Karim full sending the Blast Burn. Does the opponent commit that final shield? Yes, they do. Karim letting the timer run down. He commits a last second shield. Can we make one more Blast Burn? It looks like Karim decides just to go for the chip damage. He fires off the Dragon Claw. The switch timer does pop up. He comes in to Chestnaught. He goes straight for the Superpower. Superpower is going to knock out from this range. Even debuffed Excadrill is going to have a really tough time of taking us out. Due to our fighting, Grass typing, both Rock Slide and Drill Run are resisted. We shrug the Drill Run off, return fire with the Superpower, and that is going to be all she wrote. GG's, and thanks for playing. Moving on to the final battle of the video, we are going to see one other variation of the Chestnaught team that Karim did run earlier. Obviously, his Charizard was a huge investment. Not only did he have to get it to level 51, which was expensive, he had to invest 2 Elite TMs. So before that, he was using an underleveled Ursaluna. But without any further ado, let's get into the bonus battle. we saw Chestnaught into Excadrill, the absolute dream lead. The opponent pivoted into Gyarados, and this opponent chose to shield up the Frenzy Plant, obviously wanting to flip that alignment. We come in to Ursaluna Dragon Breaths. Argana Chunk Aqua Tail is super effective, but Ursaluna has access to double super effective Thunder Punch. The opponent has committed 2 shields, and it looks like they're still going to lose Switch, as Karim isn't going to give it up all that easy. We shield up the Aqua Tail. The opponent pivots out into Excadrill, and holy smokes, Excadrill about to get sacrificed to the Poke Gods. High horsepower absolutely one-shots the mole. So quite frankly, this video has been absolutely trolling Excadrill, and you love to see it, as that thing is super annoying. Gyarados comes back in, they fire off the crunch, that isn't enough to take out Chestnaught. Karim overfarms as much as possible, fires off the Frenzy Plant. Frenzy Plant takes care of Gyarados, and in the back is togikiss. We fire off the superpower for some chip damage, and the big thick boy is going to be more than enough to knock out. So my thoughts on Chestnaught: I think there's 2 major reasons why it's more than a meme pick, and actually pretty good. You've seen time and time again in the video, both Excadrill and Gyarados are super common. They're 2 of the most top rated picks in the meta, and things that have been really accessible. Magikarp spawns everywhere, and Excadrill's pre-evolution Drill Bird is a pretty common spawn in the wild when there's no events on, and Chestnaught walls absolutely everything by both of them. When I say everything, the most common moveset of Crunch, Aqua Tail, Rock Slide and Drill Run. So if you're looking for an off-meta pick, I'd highly recommend Chestnaught. It looks like a whole heap of fun. My thoughts on Charizard: even though Karim's was level 51, so as high as you can physically get, and it was a hundo, and it had shadow bonus, still not the best. Its stat product doesn't really get to compete with the big boys, but an absolutely phenomenal video and showcase. As always, Karim's gameplay is phenomenal. He's really high gameplay IQ. He's often on the leaderboards, and you can tell why. So if you're enjoying the content, smash that like button. If you're new, consider subscribing, and I'll see you all in the next